Hello, Neil here, and today we're going to be talking about AWS Lambda. What is it? How does it do its thing? And why it's of benefit to you? Let's get into it. AWS Lambda is a serverless thingamabob that runs on AWS. The benefits are you can run code without provisioning or managing servers, or any infrastructure for that matter. It's a self-monitored and scalable service, which means it can respond to requests at scale. And you pay for only what you use. Its per millisecond billing means that you pay per millisecond. But how does it work? Well, it'll run your function based on an event. The event can be sourced from any of AWS's services. It could be an S3 bucket detecting an upload, an API gateway, receiving traffic, or an event bridge rule. It runs on highly available compute infrastructure managed by AWS and is highly scalable. They've designed it best for the cloud with the principles that you might have seen in my other videos. Lack of single points of failures, multiple clusters, and that kind of thing. With automatic scaling in place, it means that if your service or function gets a lot of requests, the platform will quickly scale up and run those requests. There are limits to this, of course, and these will be laid out in your console. The Lambda function itself can interface with any other AWS service. If you want to store data, you could write something to an S3 bucket, or interface with DynamoDB if it's a smaller piece of data. If you're working with file system type data, then the function can mount an EFS volume, elastic file storage, or network storage. It's based on NFS, Network File System. On the end of the scale, we've got that observability, so they offer logs and statistics about your function. Not only so they have that information so they can bill you correctly, but also so that you can look at the logs and troubleshoot any issues you might have. As AWS Lambda is running code, it's an obvious question to ask, well, what programming language can I use? Fortunately, Lambda supports a wide range of languages, from Go, Python, C#, Java, and Ruby, as well as Node.js, if that's your thing. Whilst this is a wide choice of languages, you're not limited to those, because underneath all of the Lambda layers, as we'll see later, AWS support layers, so you can add whatever other software and languages you need. Great, so that's what it does, but what about what powers the thing? It is based on Fargate, which is part of Amazon's ECS service, Elastic Container Service. And in turn, the ECS is based on EC2. So the fundamentals are all right there. We need compute, it needs a server, it's just that you're not the one looking after it. So as underneath it all, it's running EC2 in auto-scaling groups with capacity providers, another feature of ECS, and then Lambda running in a Docker container on top of that. All of that technology, that infrastructure, is something that you don't have to manage. And then you've got the other things on the side that you also need, like the logs and the monitoring. These are provided for you in CloudWatch. And because it's scalable, there's load balancers in there as well. So there's a lot of stuff that's managed for you by Amazon when you use AWS Lambda. It's not strictly serverless, but they're not your servers, you don't have to look after them. So whilst initially, Lambdas can seem very cheap, after all, they're billed to the millisecond. However, if you're running a large service with millions of requests, the costs can quickly spiral. And now you know, it might be cheaper for you to run your own EC2 instances back to ECS, running Docker. Managing your own infrastructure comes at a cost too, mainly the people looking after it. In the next video, we're going to look at why is the AWS server so expensive? Join me. If you want updates for when that's released, click on the subscribe button and probably the bell as well. If you like this video, I'd really appreciate it if you give us a like. Till next time.